It's now my pleasure to introduce another strong, successful woman, a woman who is an inspiration for her personal achievements and who has been a stalwart of strength to all of us during this challenging year. Hazel King. Hazel King is president and CEO of H.A. King & Associates, Inc., a Chicago-based marketing communications firm and administrative support consulting firm. An experienced, award-winning business owner, King is a sought-after speaker before business and professional organizations. In 1988, King was appointed by Governor Jim Thompson to the board of the Illinois Institute for Entrepreneurship Education. The institute was created in 1987 by an act of the state legislature to foster the growth of entrepreneurship. She was named board chair in 1991 and in 1996 became executive director. Hazel's reputation as a small business advocate is well known, and she has served on and been appointed to numerous boards, councils, and organizations, all supportive of minority and women-owned business issues, and she has had quite the illustrious career. Her service in this arena continues to this day. Both Hazel and her company have been recognized for outstanding achievement on numerous occasions and by a wide variety of audiences. In 2003, Hazel obtained a Master's of Divinity degree from Chicago Theological Seminary, and in 2010 earned a Doctorate of Ministry degree from the United Theological Seminary. Hazel represents the stature and the prominence of past presidents of the Chicago area chapter of NAWBO. She is married 38 years and has 2 grown sons. Please help me welcome Hazel King.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gail. Wasn't that a shameless plug? Shameless. Where's Emily? Emily, I have on your shoes. We have this thing about high heel shoes. Emily likes to wear high heel shoes. I like to wear flats. Today I have on high heel shoes, much like Emily's. Isn't it wonderful to be here? Isn't it wonderful to be here? Give yourselves a big hand. Good to be in the house. I am so happy for this occasion. We've come a long way, baby, haven't we? Yes. We really have come a long way, baby. Clearly, from my introduction, you can see that I can both create a business and pray over it. Does anyone know what I'm talking about here? Does anyone know what I'm talking about in the house? Sometimes you just have to pray to stay in the game. But it's so good to be here. It is such a wonderful day to be alive and to be with all of my NAWBO friends. Before I get started, I just want to recognize 2 people who were kind of the mothers of this organization, Joan Bugan. I've got more to say about the past here's number 1 and number 3, past presidents of Chicago chapter NAWBO. Our theme today, NAWBO, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, is a great thing, don't you think? And it represents the continuum. That's why I had Judy and Joan to stand up. This is part of the continuum of this organization. We are 30 years old, and that means we are a mature organization, but yet we are young enough to thrive on the ingenuity and the innovation of our diverse membership. That's why we take advantage of every piece of information technology that's out there to get our message of empowerment out to our audiences. So you'll see us on all social media, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, even more this year. I've been a member of NAWBO since 1983. And for some of you, that might sound old school, but I was a young mother at the time. In fact, I was losing baby fat from my second son, Christopher, who is now 27 years old. So I can't blame baby fat on him anymore, can I? He's about this tall, got a full beard on his face. But I've been trying to lose that same 10 pounds, for the last, anyway. Does anyone else know what I'm talking about? The motivation for my joining NAWBO was that I attended a dinner meeting, you might recall, at which Barbara Proctor of Proctor & Gardner Advertising Agency, I see some heads nodding, was the guest speaker. As a young African-American woman, I felt empowered seeing another well-respected African-American woman speaking to a room full of people who, quite frankly, didn't look like her. But they were all paying rapt attention to her. And I looked at her, I looked at the audience, and I said, this is where I need to be. I don't even remember today the focus of her talk that night, but I was so impressed and I so identified with the speaker that I decided to join this organization. And in 27 years, I have not regretted that decision. What you see represented here today on this beautiful occasion is a continuation of the strong legacy of leadership of this organization. NAWBO Chicago was founded and chartered in the late 70s by the national organization to be a beacon of hope, information, and education for entrepreneurial women in this city. Our goal is and always has been to manage the course of change and to change the course of what? Management. We used to say that all the time. NAWBO manages the course of change and changes the course of management. Our businesses are as diverse and as colorful as the outfits you see in this room. From engineers to accountants. Where's Linda? There she is. From PR specialists like Judy to real estate and construction-related businesses, you'll find NAWBO there. My goal this morning is to use the lens that is my involvement with NAWBO to talk about the benchmarks in our history. I've never been a bench member of anything I've ever been a part of, so soon after joining NAWBO, I got involved in committee work, much like Gail. For a few years, I served on the education committee. We had an education committee. I served on the membership committee. And later, I joined the board of directors and ultimately became president during the 1988-89 board year. Now, that essentially explains the beginning of my leadership track with NAWBO, but I'd like to spend the next few minutes, if you will, talking about what I was observing during that time and some of the history-making events I was blessed to be a part of. The primary reason why I've stayed with this organization all these years is its focus on empowering women business owners. Along these lines, the single most important lesson I learned by watching NAWBO leaders like Judy Schindler, Thelma Alblin, Hetty Ratner, my sister, and others, was that the way we live and work every day is affected by the decisions that are made in City Hall, in the State General Assembly, and in the beautiful hallowed halls of Congress. Does anyone know what I'm talking about here? Along these lines, public policy issues that affect women business owners and small business in general have always been important to NAWBO, locally and nationally. Serving on committees and later on the board, I quickly saw the logic and the far-reaching impact of public policy initiatives on the small business community. That's why when I became president of Chicago Chapter NAWBO in 1988, one of the first calls I made was to my friend Hetty Ratner, co-director of the Women's Business Development Center. You may remember that call, I hope. She was always an icon, she was already an icon in the women's business community. And, you know, to my shock and awe, she immediately took my call. I was a novice, and I didn't know what was going on. And I said, well, how can we, NAWBO and WBDC, work together? And she said, well, the Minority and Female Business Enterprise Act was coming up for reauthorization in the State General Assembly. Can NAWBO get involved in that? And I said, sure. So we did. Ultimately, a coalition consisting of NAWBO, the WBDC, and several minority business organizations successfully lobbied for the reauthorization of this business-building piece of legislation that worked to promote procurement opportunities for MWBEs within state agencies. I'm so glad Hetty's here today. She's my sister from another mother. We both have curly hair. Another high point for me, NAWBO Chicago and NAWBO National, concerned the White House conferences on small business. Does anybody remember those things? The last such conference was held in 1995, and several of the delegates to that conference from NAWBO are here today. Would you please give me a wave? There's some, there were a lot of them, yeah. I want to start with the 1986 conference, even though I was not a participant in that. Before any such major conference, delegates must be elected, and issues of importance to the small business community must be defined and clarified by the organizations sending delegates. Now, I want you to imagine a smoke-filled room without the smoke. In a hotel conference room in downtown Chicago, I watched NAWBO Chicago leaders strategize on the issues that NAWBO wanted to focus on. I can't tell you how impressed I was watching people like Judy Schindler and Susan Weiner go for the gold. I felt like their little sister, you know, watching the big sisters get ready for the prom. Did anyone remember doing anything like that? But they were intense, and they were determined, and they knew exactly how to approach this thing, and they were strategic in their planning. And I said, wow, when I grow up, I want to be just like them. These were politically savvy and well-organized women who, along with their NAWBO sisters from all over the country, made an impact that went far beyond their numbers at the conference. These women business owners put the small business community as a whole, as well as national lawmakers, on notice that women business owners were a force to be reckoned with. That's who NAWBO leaders are, like Judy and Joan and Thelma and Stella and Hetty and others in this room. 10 years later, the 1995 White House Conference on Small Business was held, and I, along with many others here today, have become one of the big sisters finally. I was finally leading the charge.